the time that you spent on that vegetable farm, was that in Oregon, right?
Yep.
Is that what you said?
Yep.
What when you left there, what and now operating your own, what like skills and knowledge and operations management did that transfer to your place, or like I'm not doing it like this because blah blah, I'm going to do it like
So
this.
that the farm that I worked at was like pretty, it was smaller footprint than ours, but they produced a lot of food. And they when I left there, I thought I knew a lot. Like I was like, okay, I learned, and I'd learned so much, but really what I had learned is like just the hard skills of like how to physically get the things from one place to another. Like the plant
Mm,
goes in here, the soil comes from there, like all the hard skills, how to harvest things, which still stick with me. Like the the quality, like one thing that the boss from that farm said was like there's always place in the market for quality, and that really stuck with me. And I think like every time people enter a market, they're like, is there room for me here? And we always say there's always room for quality. It doesn't matter what you're doing or where you're at, there's always room for better quality. And um and so there were certain things that I learned that really stuck with me. But the thing that I think was the biggest takeaway is I worked on that farm for 2 years, and the owners of the farm were just like happy and comfortable, and they weren't like, they were living a pretty simple life, and they weren't always looking for the next thing. They weren't always like, they're older, they were like, I think the owner at the time had turned, it was his 60th birthday that year. um so they're not like quite retirement age yet, but like getting close. And they just seemed like content in a way that made me believe that this could be a lifestyle. And the next farm that we worked at just seemed a lot more like hectic, and like they were doing a good job, but it seemed manic, and it seemed like not, like I didn't feel like I could keep it up. Like it was too much, and it was like just felt like disaster after disaster, and there was a lot of fires to put out, and lots of it. And if I would have started on the second farm, I think I would have been like, this is not going to work out for me.
sure.
This isn't the kind of life that I want. And we might even be closer to like that farm, like where we're at right now. But knowing, like seeing that other farm and being like, it doesn't have to be that way. You can find balance, and you can find like sustainability within the lifestyle and be happy. And you can be good to your employees, and you can, do all the things without having to be always on the brink of disaster. So I think really what that farm taught me more than anything was that like this is a choice you get to make.
Sure. Sure. How like if and so, I think sometimes it also could be like that's just the way people are. Like so I'm an electrician, and we're like the company that I work for, we're doing this brand new complex for like basically a wood processor. Like they take in 2x6s or whatever, and they make nicer looking 2x6s essentially. I don't know. People buy weird. It looks cool. It's like circle sawn stuff that people can like do like accent walls in their house or siding or whatever, but it's just a nicer 2x6. Anyways, so they got this brand new facility, and like their logistics are pretty terrible. Like like I think they move material probably like a dozen times before it goes out the door, instead of it just going like in a line
Mhm.
to be packaged and then on a truck. And the we're my boss is like, can we get like a plan here, because like these like we're like begging for napkin sketches essentially, and the owner's like, that's just not how we roll.
Mhm.
You're gonna
Well,
spend a couple $1 million on this facility and not
yeah.
have a plan.
Well, we're building a new greenhouse right now, and it's, it really is a challenge to figure out, okay, this is what we would like, right? And this is what we can afford. And so how do you like pick and choose those things. And the first greenhouse we built was undersized from the first year we built it. I mean, and we've just
that was another thing we failed at.
Through, you know, and there's just so many there. I feel like we could tell that story 15 different times, that we just like went with, you know, what seemed totally justifiable and just what seemed necessary, not realizing that there would be growth or development in what we're going to use the space for, or this sort of thing. And it happens all the time. But I do think, you know, just to go back to what Stacey was talking about, that other farm, and kind of piggyback in, you know, taking on something like farming, especially if you didn't grow up on that same farm, farming that sort of same way, it's new enough and it's, you know, broad spectrum enough that it's going to be somewhat overwhelming. But if you can rein things in a little bit so that you don't feel totally overwhelmed all the time, it is a lot more fun.
Sure.
And
absolutely.
Bill, the farmer that Stacey apprenticed with at that first farm, was really good at saying no.
Too good, I think, but
too good.
Well, maybe, but
no, he was really good at that.
But that has positively influenced our farm time and time again.
And you're right though, because some people just chase the chaos, because we do that a little bit, to be perfectly honest. Every time we're not built, we told ourselves we weren't going to build anything else for 5 years. We're just going to maintain, because if we maintain right here, we'll be making this much money, we'll be able to pay these bills, and we're going to work. And then as soon as we get to here, we had this whole plan. And since then we built another house. We built a garden shed, a sauna, and now we're building a new greenhouse. We just, like, every time we feel like, oh, right, things are going good, we're like, let's spend our money. And so, like,
5 years is a long time for nothing to change, really.
This impossible. We didn't even make
Well,
it
it was
1
really
year.
just, we needed a 5-year plan, and we were tired and overwhelmed. So we said, well, let's just try to do this for 5 years.
Oh my God, we just never stop building stuff. We can't stop. And I don't know. It just makes me realize that we do have a little bit of that, but that's why I think I'm actively telling myself, you get to
Controlled
choose
chaos.
your chaos. If it's fun, then do it. If it's not fun, then stop it.
Yeah. And
I mean, I'm going to put that on another shirt. Choose your chaos.
Choose your chaos. I think somebody already said that. I think I copied that from somebody else. But we have some neighbors that are have similar farms to us, and they're way crazier than we are. Sometimes I'm like, gosh, do we even do anything? I feel like we're just hanging around. They're just bouncing off the walls over there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think
look busy. Look busy.
Yeah. Right. There's definitely some of that. But I think that there's, I don't know. I think there's a lot to be said for figuring out what is sustainable and sort of, it has to be life affirming, but also sustainable for you, and where that is, and trying, actively trying to find that sweet spot. And we have that conversation a lot. I mean, not on a daily basis, but it's a regular ongoing conversation that we jump in and out of, to, right sizing and systematizing the farm to suit us and
people want us to get bigger constantly. Everybody wants us to get bigger. They want just 10 more CSA shares, and you're like, well, that's more money. That sounds good, and then you take, but our whole season is it's such a sprint. We work probably the same number of hours as normal people, but we just squish it into 5 months. So it's just you're just really going for that time. And then the winter, we take a big break. We go to Mexico for a month every year. And
that's awesome. Where's your cool Mexico spot? You go to the same spot every year?
We do. It's called Pátzcuaro. It's in Michoacan.
My parents go down there, and so it's really easy. We just show up and we stay at Grandma and Grandpa's house, and there's somewhere to be, and we don't have to drag the kids out to 3 restaurants a day and do all of that. We just
that's just
a bowl of guacamole when they're hungry.
Been part of the plan. So there will be a babysitter, and there will be Mexico. Those are my demands.
Those are my demands.
Yeah. And then I work
Good.
my ass off the rest of the year and it works out fine.
That's probably makes it worth it. Like a month in Mexico, that's pretty sweet. That's
Yeah.
really
Oh, it's
sweet.
great. And it really was us just, you know, taking this amazing opportunity that came our way. But we also, like Stacey says, we made that a priority. And so we don't have breed stock of animals. We don't have,
Makes it harder a lot for
we
sure.
didn't even have a dog until Alex moved onto the farm and was like, oh no, I'll watch the dog.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah,
pretty.
so
That's a nice
that's another
setup.
thing too, is like you decide what your priorities are and you make your life work around it. And not that we didn't have
Sure.
some luck involved to that with like your parents being down there, it makes it really easy.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's a good thing. And that also makes farming fun because like there's nothing to do here in February. Like no one would ever pay the cost of the salad mix if I turn the greenhouse on. Like Wisconsin's cheap too. Like where we're at, we're like in the North Woods, they call it. It's like where the woods meets the farmland, where like all the
Okay.
Amish people live. It's like the Amish people, the organic farmers, and then like lumberjacks and mink farmers. That's our neighbors.
And mink
Dairy
farmers.
And mink farmers and dairy farmers. Yep.
I gotta
But it
look
is
up
true. I mean,
Athens.
even just trying to farm in February. I mean, even on dairy farms and things where they are farming all the time, it's a lot harder. You know, it's things want to break and pumps stop working, and you got to spend half your time just shoveling out to get to the project. You know, so yeah, it's nice to not feel like we have to go out there and fight that fight every morning.
Right. Recommended. Go to Mexico.